Good morning and welcome to the Capitalgang. I am Oscar Semoyamsoke, running a little bit late, but we are here. The weather is fantastic for Capitalgang, listening to radio. And Ofonopondo is in the studio. Most welcome to the Capitalgang again, Ofonopondo. You're such a rarity, so when you're here, we are. Pardon?
MP to be for all the people.
You know? You're most welcome to Gang.
Thank you, Oscar. I want to correct the legislator.
That person is
Thank you, Oscar. I've been the last 1 month doing political errands, looking for votes for the prospective MP for all the persons Eastern Uganda, which has 40 districts and 3 cities. Our election is the electoral college.
You're going to have to raise your voice a little bit more as yes, people campaigning.
Older person. We speak softly. So yeah, our election is electoral college. In my case, 40 districts from Jinja up to Kaberamaido, and we select from the villages 5 until you reach the district. So it's more like a chess game. I need to know who's coming from Kaberamaido, I need to know who's coming from Buyende, and so on and so forth. And those are the ones who I will be meeting sometime in early August, I think, when the delegates conference convene to vote for me. Yesterday, I decided to go to the village. So I was elected in Muranda village. I went to the parish, I was elected. I went to the sub-county, I was elected. Yesterday, I participated in the district elections, and I was elected. Now,
You was this one the one for unopposed, or because you've had a few unopposed?
That's also election. Even when you're unopposed, it's an election. Now that makes me a delegate with a vote in the electoral college that votes MP older persons for NRM, first of the flag bearer, which I'm fighting for, and then I go out to tussle in the Justice Wabakama Commission election. Sometime next year, I think around February. So I've done well, and I want to thank my people of Tororo. I now speak like Semoju for the overwhelming support. And Oscar, I want to say Semoju here, Honorable Nandara Mafabi, Honorable Kanya, my colleagues in the opposition who see some material in me. I'm getting good support, and I hope I will take it. Yeah. And I have just returned to collect what you promised me.
No. This is Capitalgang, not a fundraising drive.
It's a fundraising man.
We shall fundraise for Konokono. We want this old man to feel the other side, because when he was in government, he's one of those that keep threatening people. Now he's going to be on the other side where he has to persuade people, which is a very good thing.
No, but NRM does persuasion. I've been speaking for the NRM for the last 25 years, and mainly we use persuasion. The only thing is that I haven't been persuading people to vote for me personally.
Yeah.
I've been persuading Ugandans to vote for the NRM candidates, and I've been doing so, meaning I have power of persuasion. Yeah.
Then I have a young people, and I asked Ofonopondo, what is a young person doing in NRM? It is so unusual to have young people supporting NRM. Usually it is people who are old, like Ofonopondo.
Oscar, if all the people are the ones supporting NRM, all the people, as you know, by the census, are fewer. For example, 60 people of 60 years and above are not more than 1.6 million. So it means, actually, the majority of voters, people who vote for NRM, are younger people. Yes.
So Jacob Eyeru, who is chairperson of a National Youth Council of Uganda and president of other things. President of what?
I am also president of the Great Lakes Forum for Youth.
What does the IC mean? ICG?
International Conference of the Great Lakes Region, established by the UN for 12 countries to sort issues of war in our region. Thank you so much for being here. Maybe I just want to correct. Young people actually support NRM more than they support any party in Uganda. To verify that, you just need to see the results of village elections, which are by lining up in the National Youth Council. The NRM wins them year on year by about 90%. In many cases, they even go unopposed. But NRM always has candidates. And those candidates are not sourced somewhere else. They're sourced within the village. And those candidates are the ones that mobilize for the NRM. So it is a misconception in Kampala here.
In my village here, Chigo,
yes,
it is the NRM who wins LC1. But we don't know that it's NRM. We all meet and just say, let that person win. Because of the services they offer, nothing to do with the party.
So that shows the strength of the NRM, that now you don't even know that all the good people are with us. But I want to thank you, and it's a pleasure to be on Gang today. I think it's my second time on Gang, and I am more than glad to be here.
The first time you were here, Nafuka nearly murdered you, saying, how can a young, clever person support NRM?
But we forgive.
I was wrong. You see, supporting NRM is a job. If you look at the statistics of younger people aged 18 to 30, there are 10 million. Only 1.5 are working. So why shouldn't he support as a way of employing himself?
When we come to substantive matter, I will give worthy responses. Thank you.
I also have another NRM in the studio, a lawyer who's been here before, and that time you'd come agitating for Chitezi people. And this is Michael Yakagaba. So welcome back to Gang. And this time you're coming back because you are standing for NRM Vice Chairman, Western Uganda.
Yes, Oscar.
The one of Chris Variomons.
It is in the constitution of NRM.
No, I'm asking because I want to know the main of
yes.
of what? The main one.
Yes, the main one. Thank you very much, Oscar. It's always a pleasure to be here. And a good morning
so
to
this
the
first
gangsters.
One is for NRM Vice Chairperson, Chairman, Western Uganda. That's the one you're going to engage with in the next few months.
Oh yes, we have the delegates conference in August, where we're going to elect our national leaders. You should have realized that we've been conducting structural elections from the village. Yesterday we concluded the exercise at the district level. Actually today for the Bunyoro sub-region, because we hosted the president in the Chikube district yesterday, so the elections were postponed to today. So Bunyoro sub-region is voting their district leaders today.
Right.
So those are the leaders who are going to constitute the voters or the delegates who are going to come to Kampala in August. The delegates conference runs from 22nd August to 25th August. This year, and it's at that delegates conference that we're going to elect our national leaders. And I'm running for NRM Vice Chairman Western Uganda, and I'm also running in my constituency in Chikube district for Member of Parliament for Muhoozi East County. Yes.
Who is the MP there?
We have Asera Stephen Itaza. He's the incumbent. See, Honorable Nganda doesn't even know him. So,
many MPs I don't know. That's one of them.
Yeah. So there's that gives more reason for us to to have fresh faces and people with a new vibe and energy in the 12th Parliament of Uganda. So it gives me great pleasure to sit here with Ofono Pondo, who is already a delegate, by the way, in Tororo, who is running for MP for the elderly persons in Eastern Uganda, as well as Mr. Eyeru here, who we very well know with the youth structures. Okay. So it will be good to see them in the next Parliament as well.
Maybe we could send some voters from Buganda, because in your law firm is very, very esteemed in Buganda. I don't know if Semoju, you knew that. The law firm in which he works
is in Kampala.
Yes, very, very esteemed in Uganda. He can speak for himself.
That's very true. I work with Bully and Mike advocates, and of course, you know,
the key word there is my God.
So it's the law firm speaks for itself, and actually the positions we're running for are national positions. In as much as it says NRM Vice Chairman Western Uganda, the people who vote at the delegates conference are the delegates from all around the country. So we're campaigning all across. So
Buule and Maiga have signed you off. They said this is okay.
Oh yes, I've taken a sabbatical and I have their full support.
You have their full support.
Yes.
Okay. I hope they'll fundraise as well.
Sure.
And then with the Chitezi, how far is that?
Chitezi, we, as lawyers, we act on instructions of our clients. So the issue around Chitezi, especially with government intervention, our clients, so the residents who are affected by that landslide, and the ones actually who had been demarcated for relocation to Mukono, agreed and accepted the offer of the government, and so government is compensating them in order to relocate them and then decommission the landfill. Yeah, so that's where we are at, and so far so good.
So far so good.
Yes.
When you were last year, you were kind despondent and you could not say.
Yes, because of the tragedy that had happened, and of
Delays,
course, the issues, we have challenges in government, and that was mainly why we took it upon ourselves to try and help the people to ensure that they get adequate compensation and to ensure that they're not displaced without compensation, actually. So the issues are there. We have, you see, part of the reason or the noise we made then led to the firing of the ED, and of course we have a new ED. We hope she's up to the challenge. To ensure that at least the issues that are prevailing in the city and in the metropolis basically can be solved, because these issues really affect the common person.
I want to give a report on the old Chira Road. That it's even in Toro you don't have any road like that one. This one just behind the old Chira Road. It is they have craters now and so on. So maybe every show I'll give an update.
The one passing around what used to be Bobo Wine's headquarters.
Behind Kamocha Market.
Yeah, but we don't expect the new ED to fix things in 1 month.
Even in the longer term.
Yeah, but
I see some positive.
I'll tell you why.
I see some progress on City Road. Some more going on. I think they just need to stay on course, especially with the funding. Because if you fund the first quarter, or you fund this year and then the next year you don't put money for maintenance, there comes the challenge. But we hope that the government
someone looks at this road soon. So Honorable Semuju, Honorable Katuntu is not here, and I was hoping he'd be at start us off on the UPDF Act. I must commend you. Yesterday I saw a video clip of you for once not fighting, and for once stopping people from fighting.
Oscar, you have never seen me fight.
In that time in Parliament, I think you were.
I have never. I am always beaten.
you are being beaten perhaps because you're in the fight. But yesterday I saw a clip of you, and you were really near an elderly MP stopping people from fighting.
When SFC raided Parliament in 2017, during the constitutional amendment that removed the age limit, I was the first to be dragged out. Why? I was asking policemen not to beat Odongoto. Instead of welcoming me, they grabbed me. I was the first to be grabbed. First of all, my name was never read. So you've not seen me, Oscar, fight. I don't. In the case of yesterday, we were outside because court hadn't started. And then I heard a noise, and through the window I saw the fighting. So I went to stop the fighting. But the reason it happened is that I am still investigating, but I am closer there. I think because the Crime Intelligence Department of Police, headed by Brigadier Damulira, has recruited and works with Chifesi. I have personally asked Damulira myself, and he said if you want to fight crime, it's important to recruit people who either have been involved or who are involved. That's when you can fight crime. And it made sense when I interacted with him. The unfortunate thing, he also got tempted now to deploy criminals, because the first justification was that you recruit them to fight crime because they know the ins and arounds And when I interacted with him some time back, I understood him. But now they have recruited them. I think now they are a league. I don't know when are elections for the Chief League of NRM. They come to court in their tens. The idea is that they should fill the courtroom, so that those of us who come for message, by the time you arrive, there is no space for you. And when you are standing, the police that is in charge of security in court will ask you to exit because you have no space. So that's why they come early. Yesterday I was told by the boys who arrived first that they brought them in drones, about 60 of them. Others are stationed outside. So when the Rio PFF SJ people entered court, they found them. And they are not policemen because they are dirty. You can see them. So they said one way of identifying them is to begin photographing them, because for us, we get photographed. They were jittery. Why are you photographing us? They attempted to grab a phone from Ingrid, and then the boys snatched it from them, and that's when the fighting started. The interesting thing, the one who looked like a policeman, I later spoke to him. When he was fighting, I think he didn't know all of them. He was also kicking them. So he kicks our people, he boxes their face, and some of them actually ran out. I think they later retweeted and said the people you are beating are ours. So the police around the court came in. They were also reinforced by the police that was outside. But they knew that these people had come in. That's why they did not arrest anyone, but they witnessed the fighting. Instead, they were just stopping the fighting. And these guys, one by one, moved out. The one who looked like a policeman told me the reason we are here is that the co-accused is a soldier. So my understanding was that maybe he was military. But later I learned that he's actually CID, is not part of the military. And his intention was to lead this group of the Fonopondo trained face, so they feel caught.
But do you think you're the only one who loves to follow the proceedings of the prosecution? Any other Ugandans should be free, even if they are not PFA.
Yeah, but you see, if you are any other Ugandan in a courtroom, that's why the lawyer was telling the magistrate, the law allows anyone to be photographed and filmed. If you are a bona fide person, you cannot fight because they are filming you, because you all get filmed.
Especially if you're in a public place.
Yes, and in the courtroom, not even outside, but place. In the courtroom. So why do you fight? There is no way, because you have been attending that court for now 6 months. There has never been a fight because initially when we had the army, the lawyers complained and court asked the army to leave court, and they left, at least those who were in uniform. Now you have another army of which face, dirty, dressed like they are, I don't know, and they don't want to be photographed, they don't want to be filmed. So I don't know, maybe I intend to write by the way to the judiciary to ask them if it is no longer safe for anyone to attend court. Because the appearance of BSG on 21st, these people filming in court, because they coordinate with the security outside the court, they kidnapped 2 of our boys, including one who is a leader in my constituency, Naria Katongole. They snatched him, put him in a drone, beat him, and eventually abandoned him on the bypass. There was another guy also from Kawembe. Because when we sing, this is a political case, we sing and welcome BSJ singing.
But the magistrate can stop you from singing.
No, you cannot. You cannot sing when the court
the
court session has started.
Okay.
So you sing before, and when court has ended. And we've done this since I joined the project. I saw it happen. Court has no issues with it because they will knock at the door that the magistrate is arriving.
Taken from South Africa.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll discuss a little bit of that in our next topic. Let's go to the UPDF amendment bill that you passed. So what did you pass?
That Parliament passed.
You are the MP in the studio.
Yeah. So are you going to be responsible for everything we say here?
In the studio, you are the MP.
Don't you hear the radio station? Radio station is say that they usually put a disclaimer that the views expressed are not necessarily the views of this station. Well, so the bill studio, that was passed.
Let me first tell Michael and Jacob that Star Cafe is here. You don't need to carry a chapati in your pocket. Everything is okay. Things have been not being eaten for a while because O has been missing. So today there will be a larger clearance.
Thank you, sir. Let me fix the coffee.
Okay.
You see, the bill was more than 83 clauses. Many of the things are administrative issues of welfare, soldiers who have had problems, and then the issues of validating some illegalities. For example, the Special Forces Command has been an illegal outfit since inception. Now they elevated it to a level of a force, equal with the Land Force and the Air Force, and made it formal, because initially it was a Museveni militia. He knows who he recruits there. I have personally complained. It has been
your pet subject for a while.
Yeah, and because it was illegal, it should have been a pet subject for everybody. They validated it, but also created the reserve force. I don't know why the reserve force now becomes part of the forces in Uganda. The implication, because usually it is people who have retired in the army that are in the reserve force, perennially commanded by Sare. I don't know if he has now left, because it used to be Sare and any other person.
It is now General Otema Awan.
Yeah.
He has been there for a while, actually.
After retiring.
No, Otema Awan is now.
Yes, so now it's being commanded even by people who have...
I can see the MP is not adequately informed.
It is possible. You cannot be informed about everything of upon. In fact, if you claimed, you would be stupid. That for you, you're informed about everything.
But and you have just passed the law.
The issue is not who commands it. I am just telling you that the reserve force has also now become a force together with the Land Force, Air Force, and SFC. So those were some of the clauses that were passed. But the contentious ones were the issues of reintroducing the military courts and then providing for how people sitting on those military tribunals will be selected in consultation with the Judicial Service Commission and so on and so forth. So those were the contentious issues. The only change that was effected was on the military store, the uniform. I think it must have been in Sereko who moved that even if something looks like a military uniform or a beret, as long as it doesn't have an insignia, it shouldn't be considered one. So the only addition was the insignia. So, but they had published photos of everything, including ordinary shoes, and said, "Oh, this is military store." So, Oscar, that's what was passed. More than 83 clauses were passed by Parliament. But we were out at the time all that happened. Because you see, the whole process, they did it in the military way. Bring a law, summon people to come and appear before the committee in the night, and they are required to appear in the morning. It was just a ceremony. But even when they went for the actual meeting in Munyonyo, first, Baka Mugabe was chairing the legal committee and defense. He adjourned the meeting and said, "You guys, meeting adjourned, we will call you." Then within 6 hours, he had called them, not for a meeting, but that we are going to Munyonyo to write a report. In Munyonyo, during the joint committee meetings, the first contentious issues that the committees were voting on were the names of members of High Command who were members of High Command as of January 1986, Sare, Museveni and others. So the MPs, including NRM MPs, voted that those fellows should leave the law. They don't have to be there. Then they went to 2 other clauses, and the MPs were saying, no. What the chairperson did was to go for a break because he was losing. When he came back, he said, "We have been called for the NRM meeting." Then the whole bunch of NRM MPs left. When they came back with a report towards 4 a.m. in the morning, a report signed. So when our colleagues were in Munyonyo asked them, "Where did you sit to consider and sign the report?" That we are signing from the office of the committee chairman, others signed from Entebbe. So the seconders didn't sleep. They were hunting down NRM MPs until they saw them around 3, and also prepared the minority report, which they brought to Parliament. So really, this whole process was like a game. You look for NRM MPs, they have run away. But for me, I'm familiar with the budget. I go through that. You are in a budget committee, but a report is being written by someone else. and the majority of the MPs, nearly 90%, will append their signature on a report they haven't even read through.
So, I mean, what, for you, Honorable Semuju, what are the contentious issues that led you to walk out of Parliament?
The walking out was a protest against Parliament overthrowing its own processes. Because in the laws that we've been considering, and this particular one where I've even spent money to publish adverts in the newspapers calling people to come and bring views, because almost all the contentious laws, and I am speaking with a lot of experience as a journalist and as an MP, you will have Uganda Law Society Law Reform Commission, you will have political parties, you will have everybody, because there was also a law on political parties. People were receiving invitations at 10 in the morning and you are required to appear 30 minutes after or later. So we are protesting that we are not following the procedures and practice of Parliament. For all the bills that come before Parliament, if you read our rules, the requirement was not for a ceremony. The requirement is that because the registration is a very important matter, you're making a law that is going to affect everybody. The basic requirement in the rules is that when you present a report on a bill, you will not commence debate until after 3 days. The 3 days you have to allow the MPs, those who bother, because the majority, especially in Ireland, don't read. They are like animals. The moment you unleash them, they come. I told you a story of an MP who came with his hand up, Billy Mumaso. They told him the NRM is now voting. So he came with a hand up. They told him, no, we haven't started. So that's how NRM MPs conduct themselves. But the idea is that allow 3 days people to read, understand, conceptualize, come and register for the country. But this one, all those rules were, because we knew they had proposed so and so you remove that, we suspend. So and so you remove that, we do this. So the protest was because the processes of registration had been overthrown by the Speaker and the entire NRM machinery.
And the court-martial? Courts-martial?
No, we didn't go into the content. The content, right, as I told you, the bill was passed almost as it was presented, with the exception of adding removing or adding the word insignia. So if a Kaunda suit looks like the one of UPDF, as long as it doesn't have the military insignia, so you will not be the assumption is that you will not be arrested, because they can still arrest you.
Yeah. Let's go to the elderly here, Ofonopono. Yes. What's good about that amendment?
I have been in the election 2020. I didn't follow much, but this is an old bill. It has been in that parliament since 2020, the UPDF amendment bill. Now, when the Supreme Court, the famous ruling was made in March, January, government sought to rectify what the court had found as an anomaly or gaps. And so it brought in elements that talks to the ruling about the jurisdiction, the power, composition, tenure of the court martials. And the MP, as usual, particularly from the opposition, decided to cherry pick the focus. The bulk of the bill talks about reinforcing administration and welfare issues, like Honorable Semojo has glossed over. If a soldier is injured, presently, a soldier is injured, he gets away without any compensation. Now, this bill does introduce that, and I think it is a good thing. It's important for our service people who get injured in line of duty to be fairly and adequately compensated. Secondly, the formation of the gratuity, removing it from the mainstream civil service to adapt to a new specialized body that deals with pension for service people who have been in service. Third, Semuju may have issues, but the army is an organ. The army is an organism, you can call it. it ought to grow. This UPDF started with 42 people armed, 27 of them armed, and has grown, and therefore it must be alive. Consequently, it expands, and when it expands, it is necessary that we formalize that process of expansion, because there are things that we can't foresee. This SFC, Honorable Semujo has issues with. It started just as a protection unit for the chairman of the NRA in the bush, something like 7 people, guarding the chairman, the person who was leading the guerrilla war. Now, it is a government army. It came as a rebel force. By legal notice number 1, it became the National Army. And it has gone and undergone modification to rhyme with the times and the tasks that has. So I think I have no issues if PPU, the guard unit of the chairman, high command of the chairman, the PPU, the PGP is now a force recognized in the law. For me, I think it's a good thing. When the army was started, we never used to call publicly for recruitment. It was just the army leadership that says goes out sourcing people. I remember in '87, these people, these LWLs, we went to university in Makerere, and we just sourced people who were willing to join. I remember it was a tug of war to convince somebody from Teso, to convince somebody from Lango, to convince somebody from Acholi, to convince somebody even from Toro here to join the army, because they're saying, first of all, this government will not last. This is their army. So we went deliberately sourcing people to join the army, to join ISO, to join the ESO, and so on and so forth. So today we are at a stage where Ugandans, when you call for army recruitment, you have been overwhelmed. And so the law to create the different branches of the army is a good thing. Uganda is not an exception in having reserve force. The world over, all the countries that I know have a provision for reserve. Either Uganda you do a training and a stint, maybe 9 months or 1 year, depending. In some countries, there's even a conscription, because not all people who retire from the army become useless. They still have expertise. They may not hold the gun to fight, but in times of war, when we really need people, you will need drivers, you will need people to manage the stores, you will need all sorts of people. So it is necessary to have that reserve force. And the current commanding general of the reserve force is General Otema Awan, still a serving officer. And so that expansion is good. Now, about the court martial, I have not seen the details, but there is a complaint from the Semojos that that the government has not complied. In fact, they're saying they have reenacted what was outlawed. I have not read that, but from what I read, now the court martial has been reinforced, actually reconfigured. The composition now has people who are lawyers. Their appointment is in consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. They have also tried to equate the first court to a magistrate court.
No.
What they have tried to equate with the civilian
they haven't.
With the civilian courts.
They have actually created a court martial at the unit level.
Yes.
Then we have the next level will be at the division.
Yes.
Then we get to the general court martial. Then they've also provided the amendments also provide for appeal.
Appeal. So
you see, if a second, you see, because the law was done in that manner, the only provision they made is that you can appeal to a parent court. Later, when we are raising this matter, the Court of Appeal can only hear cases that are from High Court. So even that, because of the manner in which they were hearing.
Even this law has provisions for amendment. If there is a lacuna or overlap, I'm sure the Attorney General, the Minister of Defense will come back to Parliament. Now, Honorable Semujo is having issue. Your rules of Parliament, rules of procedure, provides instances when rules can be suspended. And that's how the 3 days does not apply when there's an emergency. You want to treat an emergency. Somebody moves a motion to suspend a rule, which says you have to lay matter for 3 days. Fourth line, which I want to conclude with. So, Honorable Semuju is saying that they moved out in protest of procedure. The Honorable Semujus are known to walk out even when the procedure hasn't been abrogated or overruled. You have seen them walking out each time the president comes. This is a constitutional command that the president addresses State of the Nation Parliament. The Semujus walk out.
Me, I don't attend.
I
don't walk out. I don't attend.
They walk out. And so their walkout, this is simply a lame excuse. And Ugandans, I think, are now used to those lame excuses. Each time they face defeat, they will have a reason to walk out or to stage a fight, a fracas.
I thought, Ofono, you're going to be a value addition to Parliament.
I'm going to be because I'm now going to face you on the floor.
So you're going now to propose that rules should be suspended.
where you now seem to monopolize wisdom. I want to come there and face each other on the
Michael,
floor.
I'm not so sure where Abdul has disappeared to, but you are the lawyer in the studio.
Yeah.
Whatever OO may say, the president may be on Semuju's side, because President Museveni is particularly pleased with the court-martial, whatever was passed by the court-martial.
Because the president is saying, without the court-martials, the way the executive thinks, discipline would fall apart in the army. Imagine, because this is the case he's giving. Say, if somebody steals ration is dry food, supplies, food meant for soldiers or uniforms. Supposing somebody steals food in a war situation, because they know Miss Honorable Justice Owinyidore's court probably will be laxed. Now we want fast, instant but fair justice within the army.
Boys who have been before the court martial for 4 years steal food.
No. And
they not have stolen, but they could have connived with the soldiers.
It's good you're maybe when you get to Parliament you'll even draft a few lines for him, because for him it's clear. He says, you judiciary, you work with corruption cases and whatever, leave these other ones to us. That's his line of thinking, Michael, isn't it?
Yes. Now, you clearly state that the president was pleased with the passing of this particular law. You see, we are in a political period. We are headed to the polls, and whatever you see the opposition doing is basically revolving around politics, because now they're trying to make their case.
And NRM
revolving around
even the NRM, by the way, because
even he himself he has resigned.
It goes for either side.
It does.
Now, the main point of contention with this law, because whatever else that has been passed by Parliament is procedurally okay, because we have been undergoing a process of professionalizing the UPDF, even the position of CDF as the head of the army, and delegating some of the duties the president held before to the CDF, and everything else is perfectly okay. And any sitting government would come up with policies and laws that align with whatever they want to do. Now, the main point of contention in this particular law was, as raised by the opposition, is that they weren't given substantial time to respond or to make contributions towards this particular amendment. Then for the lawyers, it is mainly about the issue to do with the trial of civilians in the courts. Because if you look at the issues vis-a-vis the trial of army officers or the rank and file of the UPDF before the court-martial, I believe no one would contest that, even the members of the opposition. Because the trial of UPDF soldiers,
even that is contested.
For disciplinary.
Even that is contested, because if a soldier has murdered our view is that he needs to be tried by a competent court. But on matters of discipline, you've seen police, they have their own discipline court.
A tribunal.
Yeah. So we actually, our view was encompassing that even soldiers, as the court itself ruled, should be, except on matters of discipline, should be tried by the same courts.
That's perfectly fine, Honorable Semuju. The issue here is issues of discipline. Now, the government, the Attorney General actually, raises issues to do with the trial of army officers and co-conspirators or people who may connive with UPDF officers to be tried under this particular court. Now, the essence of the amendment is to ensure that it is realigned with the recommendations of the Supreme Court. Now, the problem with that particular judgment of the Supreme Court that was delivered in January is that they left an opening for the government to amend the law to enable or to allow civilians and army officers to be tried before the court-martial. And that's where the president and the government actually has been pushing for. Because for them, they're saying, in as much as if you read, I think last evening, there's a statement that was released by the army, for instance. They are talking about issues. Colonel Chris Magezi, he's the spokesperson, he's the director of Defense Information at the Ministry of Defense. He raises issues to do with subversion, to do with treason, and issues of rebellion. Now, perhaps they have intelligence, which we may not be privy to.
They don't have. They are just the politicians.
Of course, as a politician, as a member of the opposition, that's what Semuju is going to raise. But we may not know the real facts.
I have Samson Lowens here, Michael.
Yes.
He's saying, if you look at paragraph G, it is not complying with what that ruling was. If you look at clause 30 of the bill, that says if you are going to take someone to that court, you need to demonstrate a lot that they should be taken to the court.
Yes, actually, there's a bit of ambiguity there, and it is what I think OO was raising, that should there be any issues, because I'm aware that actually the members of the opposition are actually going to court to challenge the law, because we have that avenue. Because
limited circumstances, and only after the state has completely demonstrated to the court by verifiable facts and by objective and serious reasons the need and justification for recourse to the military court.
Exactly. Now the issue there is
that doesn't seem vague.
Exceptional circumstances. Now, how do you define exceptional circumstances?
Not exception, under limited circumstances.
Yes, there should be limited circumstances within which a civilian should be tried before the court-martial. So how are you going to define that? Because what the opposition and perhaps the legal fraternity is saying is that is subject to abuse.
But Oscar, we are not benefiting from this lawyer who wants to come to Parliament.
Yes.
For you, what are you saying? You are Ugandan.
I'm a Ugandan.
Yes, but you are hiding the opposition, the legal fraternity. For you, what are you saying?
No.
Because when you come to Parliament, you should be a value addition, whether you are NRM or not.
When I'm talking about the legal fraternity, as a lawyer, of course, I'm talking about the position we hold. And the position is, for as long as you have not defined...
Jacob is smiling, Michael. You know these are things NRM is going to give you a challenge with.
Yes, I get that.
You stop talking law and start talking NRM things.
You are
yes, I get that. Now the issue is simply one. Should civilians be subject to military law?
And benefit from your legal knowledge.
Should they be subject to martial law?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, under the law, civilians should be having their own civil court system, right? However, there are exceptional circumstances where you may find a civilian, especially in issues, for instance, if it's issues of treason, or murder. Murder can be under the civil courts, But now issues of maybe, let me say, treason, where there's an attempted coup or something like that. So should such a person go or be tried under a civil system, or should he be subject to martial law?
Haven't they been tried in civil system before?
Yes, it's been there, because we have people like Jamil Mukulu who are undergoing trial
previously.
Yes, and there are so many of them. But then the argument of the government is that such people should undergo martial law. And you see, that is the policy of the government as pushed by the president. And you see, the tyranny of numbers they have used in parliament to pass this particular law is what is disturbing the opposition, the likes of the Honorable Semuju.
Speak for yourself.
So, for as long as...
You as a lawyer, you went to school.
You see, even myself, if I breach the law, and all of us are candidates, by the for that particular law, even myself, I could find myself before the court-martial for as long as I'm not in line or I've breached the laws of the land. Yeah, so for as long as there's still...
Let's give you some breathing space.
For as long as there's still that that gap, then we can always... and I'm sure that going forward, this particular law is going to be... will be amended going forward. But as is now, we have to go with what they have passed. Yeah, because that is the government position and that's the policy they have pushed.
Because you are the lawyer here, OO has left it to you completely.
Sure.
You finish that thing. So Jacob Beyeru.
Oscar, you know, I was listening to the lawyer.
Yeah.
I was wondering if I should speak at all on this matter because the lawyer was giving law but no position. And I can really sympathize with many civilians.
Muhammad Ali language, diving and ducking.
And really, I sympathize with us civilians. We are very scared of taking direct action. I want to be very clear, Oscar. There is international consensus on the situation of civilians in court martials. In General Comment 29, the United Nations Human Rights Committee expresses explicitly the circumstances of derogation of the situation. In other words, they're saying it's a context issue. If there is a state of emergency, if there are exigencies, in other words, if there are circumstances that warrant the use of military force to address, then civilians participating in causing those situations can be tried. The only position that the Human Rights Committee takes very clearly is to say this should be temporal for that situation. It should not be a standing system. However,
and sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
This is playing out in Israel and Gaza, for example.
Very true. And I was actually coming to that. That
okay.
There was a standing court-martial system trying civilians in Guantanamo Bay in the United States of America. There was one in Pakistan. Pakistan has a standing one. There are many others. But that is on exceptional circumstances. The general idea of a court-martial existing is internationally agreed upon. The question that Uganda was dealing with, and which I think the Supreme Court helped us sort out, is do you therefore just allow a court-martial to operate without any legal competence or any competence for fair hearing? And for me, this is the more important question. Because if you have agreement on the nature of crime that can take a civilian there, then the next question is, when he goes there, does he or she acquire a fair trial? And this is, for me, what I expected this bill to deal with, this law to deal with, and to the better practice of law. I think that what has been established in the bill deals a great deal better than what we had before. One, I am now learning that the appellate system that was introduced there may not work. That's what Semuju is saying. Because the Court of Appeal...
Even Michael has agreed.
And even the president agreed that he did not know that in the previous situation you would not appeal a court-martial decision. And he said this was wrong. So now that we have identified that actually the way it is situated, it would still not be appeal if it is not...
It seems as if you can appeal, but
you will not
really
be able. Yeah. That's a technicality that is not in the spirit of the law. So it would call for amendment. And if we can have the speed at which we have passed it to also amend it to allow for that, I think the NRM will execute that, because that's the spirit. The second issue which I was very concerned about was this issue of the dress code. You see, Oscar, for us as young people, we have interest in many kinds of things. Green is a very majestic color in some ways. You want to look green. There is this Go Green movement. Let's go green as a country. People have green T-shirts, green shoes. So we said, but if everything green is going, that would be
there's some
detrimental.
climbing boots that are green as well. Very
so
nice.
The fact that Honorable Mohammed Nsereko's addition of no, there must be a differentiation between colorization and insignia passed, shows that there was logic on debate. And this is where I really felt we would have benefited, for example, from the knowledge of the Honorable Semujungana had he not walked out. Because we are now learning where it doesn't matter. None of us here is a legislator, that actually they could even have improved the law better to say, amend this part, the appeal will not be possible. So if there is international consensus on circumstances, but there's also international practice on existence, the problem cannot be the existence of the court-martial. The problem should be the competence, which for me is the subject I'm interested in. What competence have we put in there to comply with the Supreme Court ruling? If that competence is such that we can have trials that are free and fair, then it is just as good as being in a court with prosecution in a civilian court. Why is that? Because eventually, even in the civilian court, even when convicted
someone is
of...
telling me here, it is not called a civilian court, it's regular court.
Okay, you might call it a regular
because
court.
Even an armed person.
Let's just say judicial. Yes. So, and you'll excuse me. A civil court.
Civil court. Okay.
So civil and civilian seems more, but let's leave it to the regular. You'll forgive me. Excuse me for this. I am an engineer.
Okay. Yes.
So some of the legal jargons I may not.
Yeru, first stop there for a minute.
Yes.
We go for a break and then I'll let you continue.
Thank you.
Welcome back from the break. I interrupted you, Jacob. You were presenting comments on trying civilians in courts martial from your engineering perspective.
Oscar, that's a low blow. But as I bring it to a close, I think that as a general principle, civilians should not be tried in military courts, and for the simple reason that they are civil courts. However, as a general accepted principle international, again, quoting from what I have already quoted, General Rule 29, there are circumstances that would warrant it. And I just want to draw the picture for people. The United States is now struggling with gun violence. And why they are struggling with it is because the gun is, it can be owned by anyone from a shop. You just go buy it. In Uganda here, people do not know generally how you acquire a gun. But very many people can actually acquire guns and have licenses for those guns. And whenever you are attending a presidential function, you'll be asked whether you have a weapon, and you'd have to leave it at the gate. Just the same for Parliament. Such a one could go on rampage and decide that since I am losing this election, let me cock and shoot everyone down here. Now, when you say, no, what you have done is an act of murder, let's take you to a civil court, yet the intention of that person is perhaps to shoot down the security of Parliament and go in, it would not be right to say because you're a civilian, you go to the civil court. You are undertaking military action.
Why would it?
I'm just. You're undertaking military action with intent, perhaps, to overthrow the state. In that event, you are committing an act of war on the state. It would not be unfair to say, why don't we subject you to martial law itself, since you're undertaking martial or military activity? And I think that the challenge with the law would be the spirit of the person implementing. And unfortunately, I am not a qualified reader of spirits.
But in your opinion,
yes,
a court would not manage such a case? Let him just finish off.
Yes, in my opinion, even though a court would manage such a circumstance, what I am saying is that a state cannot manage military activity in lackluster behavior. It has to be quick and decisive to manage the reaction toward the state. For example, if someone attempts a coup and uses civilians in that attempted coup as backup force, should we say because those are civilians, put them this way, and then these ones go into the
military people? Maybe you are speaking from a point of no knowledge. The military, first of all, today is still committing people to the same prisons. We are with them. When I was in New Zealand, they were the ones.
No, this is not about prisons.
Why don't they?
This is not about where you go.
Just quickly.
This is about how we determine.
Jacob, let me ask
the death
Michael
sentence
here.
by UPDF is different from a death sentence by
1 second.
the High Court.
I want to ask
Michael
a question and come back to Fonopondo.
Yes.
Can court cases be expedited? Like such, you know, the way they expedited the bill, can a court case say this, we need to get this done? I've had this discussion with Moses Pierahanga, who wants the American system. Once they bring you to court, 6 days, case closed. Can a court case in Uganda be expedited?
Yes, court cases can be expedited. The problem we have is that we have a dysfunctional judiciary. We have cases of case backlog. I have a case, for instance, that's been in court for the last 7 years. But to this date, it has not been heard. So when they raise issues to do with, especially the trial of maybe like army officers, if for instance an army officer went and shot people in a village, we've seen people, for instance, in Karamoja, army officers being tried before that unit court-martial. So the president, actually, his argument has been that if an army officer commits, for instance, murder, shoots people in a bar or whatever, then they try them immediately instead of taking them to the courts. You've seen Jamil Mokulu. How many years has he been in our civil court system? To this day, he has been there for so many years.
So how can that be cured? By creating a court-martial or appointing more judges?
Creating the court-martial actually helps expedite the process. That's what they're saying.
Boys, supporters of Kyagulanyi were arrested 4.5 years ago. They are before court-martial.
Yes, so it boils down to our court systems, whether it be the court-martial or the civil court system, where we have to basically change whatever we are doing. Yeah, because there's a problem in our mainstream judiciary. There's a problem now, like the Honorable Semoju is saying, we have a problem in the court-martial system. Then these issues need to be addressed.
Go to the microphone.
I think we are discussing these matters superficially without going to the origin of the state, origin of the law. It's just like we are now saying. Yes.
And you tried to give it. So
that's good for your health. I mean ideological health. It's like in Uganda here, we think that people who speak English are the ones who are educated, are the ones who are knowledgeable, and yet it's not. So it goes back to what kind of state, what kind of country, what kind of society we are running. We say lawyers are knowledgeable, but we have heard from the lawyer. They say they are the ones interested in pursuit of justice. But so how come that people who are legally trained and appointed, well paid today, can delay cases for up to 15 years? How come? So I think we need to go back and say, what does the law intend to cure?
Nothing.
Law intends to cure
politically
problems of society, whether it is political, whether it is economic. And therefore, for me, at the stage we are, we need to find alternative means and system to address grievances in society. And at this time, I think we need court-martial to try certain offenses, provided there are guarantees that there will be fairness and there will be justice. For me, and if you look at the UPDF court-martial, by and large, it tries soldiers, mainly. Civilians come as, by the way, the ones who choose to take themselves into the realm of military actions. I have not seen, for example, the military court trying people who have committed AFRE. AFRE is fighting in public. I have not seen. So, but if you bring yourself into military action, surely where we are, to take the case of Somalia, supposing we don't have a court martial, and okay, wherever our soldiers are engaged in foreign countries, how would we try them in the civil courts in Uganda? And so for me, that should be the issue. Does this guarantee? If it doesn't guarantee, Semujis should go back to Parliament and cause amendment rather than running away from their duty of legislation. But each time they run away when they face defeat, instead of bringing alternatives, how to strengthen the law, they run away. And then they come to the radios, whoa.
Ask Katundu who remain. What success did he register?
Well, because he was in the ex-military, you having fled.
You see, Oscar, the NRM approach this matter as an academic question. In Somalia, I don't know if they are out. We had 2 colonels who were charged for abandoning when Al-Shabaab attacked. They processed them. They are in Ruzira. We had another one. We have another one who was, but they were brought back here. They didn't charge them in Somalia. So for the court doesn't have to be in Somalia. People can always be brought back. It's not that it's the absence. We had another one who was charged for selling guns to Al-Shabaab. He was also brought back to Uganda and charged and sent to Ruzira. So let's not use geography, that they are far away, therefore there are no courts. Even those who have been injured, they are taken to Nairobi and elsewhere. So the point, because you see, Museveni pursues the military court for a different reason. His handlers come on radio and give a different reason. At the beginning of this parliament, Museveni wanted NRM MPs to remove bail. He had meetings, they refused. He said, okay, I'll find a solution. What is the solution? Military court. That's why they took their message. When the military court was...
I know you couldn't end this without bringing message as a way of sympathy.
Because he has been in military court. This is the second time. I cannot bring you because you have never been before in military court.
Both.
But Oscar, except if you...
just reminding.
Yeah, because it is Museveni. It is Museveni who summoned the NRM MPs and told them you go and pass the law. Okay, Kagame. They went to Rwanda and Rwanda told them to pass it. But the one who told them was in Entebbe. Even MPs who were in Munyonyo.
The leader of NRM is also the leader of
even MPs who were in Munyonyo abandoned the committee worker to run to Entebbe.
The only issue can be if you say NRM MPs when they go to the president lose the reason. Maybe that you can.
Do they go when they have it?
Yes.
That they lose it from there. I doubt.
Them. If they didn't have a reason, you would have.
So you see, Oscar, that's the reason Museveni pursues this court. That if he has sent you there and he wants you to be in the prison for a full year, you will be there. Look at these boys of Nope. Some of them are from my constituency. Arrested November 2020. 5 years later, even the court martial that is supposed to be an alternative judicial system hasn't tried them. Not even one witness has been presented. And they are still there. I think now they are going to continue. Because the idea is that you use a military court as a political platform. If you don't like it, because look at the case of Besigye, very interesting case. He is brought because in the law they have said if they are put aiding and abetting, if you are aiding a military man, and I think they force for Besigye, they pick Captain Ora, who was in Ruzira for a different offense, and add him on Besigye to make it look like Besigye was aiding a military man. Samuel Ngora, former minister and former NRM vice chairman, Northern Uganda.
No, Samuel Ngora was never. Samuel Ngora, yes. Former chairman.
So you mean everything from me you're going to deny, even when it is true? That's how you have tuned. That's how you have tuned yourself. Samuel Ngora, former minister, former NRM vice chairman, Northern Uganda. We have been meeting in the court martial. He has a relative there who was arrested together with Ora. They charged them for trafficking something. I don't remember the offense. This woman is in Ruzira. When we were arrested protesting, going to the Kenyan embassy, the Ingrids were taken to Ruzira. So the woman was there crying. He said, but my co-accused now has been donated to SG. I don't know if I will ever go to court.
Yeah, but
so
was she proving that her co-accused could have committed another offense?
I am telling you the circumstances. The interpretation is yours. What Museveni will be doing is to pick a corporal, and he says, you are aiding a corporal, because the intention is not to try you. The intention is to keep you in jail. And
how come you haven't been kept there?
Even I mean, when they are killing people, you survive. They didn't kill everybody. So you mean Museveni has prisons for all Ugandans? Ruzira itself, the capacity is 10,000. It has yes.
I want to change subject now. So,
yeah. So let's look at the intention of the main sponsor of the bill and why he wants it, and then a number.
So your argument is create an impression that there's bail when there's actually no bail.
Actually, that's what will happen, because even when bail is granted by the
civil court,
normal court, in the case of Alan, I was in Masaka, Alan and Isegirinya. The High Court judge said these are MPs, important people, they will come and report. Then they brought another judge and he said these are important people who will interfere with the investigation. So when Museveni was done, nothing changed. They just told them after 2 years and 6 months, now you can go. And they went. Because Museveni he doesn't want to use courts for justice. He wants to use court system and the judiciary for punishing people. And to him, you are guilty until you have proven yourself innocent. So that's why he has been...
We don't use the French system.
So...
let UPDF acquit himself by giving evidence that wasn't involved.
But the government has no evidence. For 6 months, in Nakawa, they said they have filed an application to use USG's phone to look for evidence.
You passed that law? That we can't...
Museveni said that you people who are crying for USG, why don't you cry for speedy trial? For 6 months, he hasn't been tried.
But you passed that law that if we want to use information on your system, we should apply to court to obtain that information.
You are being simple. You have arrested someone, you have no evidence. Why don't you first get evidence?
Yes, you collect the evidence and you arrest.
No.
So you arrest and then begin looking for evidence.
No. That evidence is available, but in order to present it in court, we need to extract formally with the court permission. Why don't you allow? Why doesn't the person say, okay, here's my phone, get the information? Why do you think you people are fearing it?
You mean I surrender my phone to Museveni? Even mine, I will hide it.
Why do you? But you see, that's why there is intelligence. What we gather intelligence, we can use it without necessarily taking you to court, but we shall achieve the end result that we would have neutralized you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
I hope you are not supporting arrest before finding evidence, but. Diplomatic community complaining. Your friend Tim Kalijira is posting on X, formerly Twitter, saying that General Sali is the deputy head of state, and he got the point.
Is he not a co-president?
He got the point from the diplomatic community complaining. Though my friend Andrew Mwenda is shouting at the top of his voice, saying, why are these people complaining?
You see, which diplomatic community? The European, the European ones. Those are grandchildren of colonialists. They still think that Africans don't have heads to lead themselves. That's why you see they're all over the place.
No, in this particular incident, they are complaining about CDF threats.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Even Opono has complained, Opono himself.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In my previous capacity, I had issues with the diplomatic community because they still think we Africans don't have our own heads. And unfortunately, there are many Ugandans in leadership who think that those people are the only ones who are intelligent. Do we need diplomatic community to complain for us? We Ugandans should complain. If our CDF is doing things that are outside the law, outside the rules, we should complain about him ourselves. Why do you wait for some German ambassador who's here for 3 years?
So we are not complaining.
Now, after he has gone, what will you do? If our leaders are doing wrong things, we should complain by ourselves. I don't support that we should wait for the diplomatic community to go to General Secretary to whoever to complain about the CDF or anybody else. We should complain about him ourselves if we think he's doing the wrong things.
Or if you went to General Secretary, would you get the same media coverage and the same response from General Secretary?
If I
will tell you, if you went to complain about the CDF to General Secretary, would you get the same response? Or he would tell you, go and sleep?
Why do I go to General Secretary to complain about the CDF? I wouldn't go, because I have another platform.
Can you confirm if you can hear me? Yes, I'm loud and clear. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear Imperialist speaking on his phone.
Yes.
I can also hear you.
Jacob has all sorts of yes. Go on.
I'm saying for them they can, but they are known meddlers. I don't want them to complain on our behalf. Let us do that complaint. Let us raise those issues ourselves. So
you have not helped to follow upon.
I don't support
part of the reason they were complaining is that the CDF was also threatening them. So when they get
that was their bigger complaint.
Yeah.
No, and that shows you that they are unserious.
That they are afraid.
Yeah, no, they are unserious. Diplomats have the channel of the protocol department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's why they should write their complaints too. Not genocide.
You say those things as you look at me with a straight face.
Yes, I am saying
that you want to complain about CDF in Uganda and you go to Foreign Affairs protocol desk.
Yes.
How will that be a complaint?
Yes. According to international standards, rules, that's where they should address their complaints too, not genocide. Otherwise, they seem to think.
I remember General Sale telling Semuju here, do you know who General Sale is? When Semuju was saying you are just General Sale.
No, they were doing their back and forth, media, but for a diplomat, I am saying for a diplomat, the rules, they should address their concerns to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will channel, if they evaluate and think that the CDF is a problem to the diplomat, to the head of state, who happens also to be the commander-in-chief of the CDF.
His father.
Let me switch off.
Commander-in-chief.
Let me switch off Semuju. He will speak when I have invited him to speak. Jacob Beyero. Hold on.
You may not agree with that I'm saying, but
I have said nothing. I have not.
Honorable Semuju, you both gentlemen, your microphones are off.
Thank you.
So, a question to you. You know,
as a bit surprised,
Jacob. You know, I because I look younger than but we're in the same age bracket.
Yes.
So it could be elderly. So you heard from us elderly sending you to a desk in Foreign Affairs.
No.
Even you wouldn't do that.
I was a bit surprised that the ambassadors chose to go to General Saleh. Yet in March of this year, the ambassador, the head of the delegation, met with General Muhoozi, and they had a very cordial meeting. The army was happy to report on it. We saw a lot of, in fact, General Muhoozi himself reported on it on his X handle. I think that for me, if the ambassadors had a problem with General Muhoozi, seeing as they have got audience with him before, I don't know the ambassadors to be people who mince their words or are scared to meet anyone in Uganda. I think they should have taken the bull by the horn and gone to General Muhoozi to say, look, we are tired of you threatening us, and say it to his face, because he would grant them the audience in his official capacity as CDF. I don't think he would deny it. But be that as it may, let's not also dismiss the elder here. The official channels also exist. Government-to-government communications also exist. How they chose to take the issue to General Saleh, I don't know. But we also can't pretend like we don't know General Saleh's influence in Uganda. He is the one that oversaw the transition of the army command to General Muhoozi. But historically, he is also one of the very revered members of the NRA, who in fact are the people that formed what we now know as the force we have professional.
And his name has been left in
General Saleh is very respected across the board because of his conduct.
Except Semuju.
No, I'm sure Semuju also respects him, except for perhaps a few business deals gone wrong. Semuju maybe did not benefit from some, and he was not happy about it. But I just want to say that in military terms and military hierarchy in Uganda, General Saleh is highly respected, and I think it would be good to continue having guidance from someone of that high rank so that we don't always have things mastered by only the president. And in the army, who attains the rank first remains senior. It is not that because we are at the same rank, I am now equal. No, if you attained it before me, you remain senior and I salute you. Except if you are in official command structure, that is when the command structure also determines who salutes you. So I really want to just say the European Union has a choice to go and meet General Muhoozi. I do not think they can be locked outside Dumbuya or SFC or wherever General Muhoozi sits, and they'll have a cordial conversation. Let them talk about it rather than going to General Saleh all the way to Gulu. In fact, someone was asking, the ambassador has decided to travel to Gulu to report a matter of that nature, or they were, but I'm sure there were also other issues of general concern. Yeah, so I would encourage them, after bringing it to the knowledge of General Saleh, let them also bring it to the knowledge of General Muhoozi, and they have a conversation.
I wonder. George Barugahare says, even when you want to be upset with you have got to love him. He calls them grandchildren of colonialists. So he hopes you get to Parliament soon. Michael.
Oh, yes. Now, on the issue of diplomacy, it's a diplomatic spot in my opinion. One is that I watched that clip, by the way. Seeing the exchange between Andrew Mwenda and the diplomats and Paul Cole and everything, I am disappointed because one, of the position the CDF holds, but then two, for General Saleh, maybe perhaps before I go to that, I should mention that this was, I think, a leaked video. And if you look at the meeting, I think it was a casual kind of meeting. And someone recorded this and leaked it. Because the EU, the ambassadors, that team of the ambassadors from the EU, basically had gone on a different mission to northern Uganda. And perhaps casually, like many of the leaders have done, they decided to have audience with General Saleh. But then why I feel sorry for General Saleh is he struggled to explain and defend.
Sorry for him?
Yes, I feel sorry for him because that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And really? let's be clear on this, that the tweets General Muhoozi posts, some of them I think cross the line. We are his supporters, I'm his supporter. But then we need not for crossing the line.
You don't need to respond.
I mean
his
not.
Microphone is off. He's going to
General Muhoozi is not perfect, but for the position he holds, I think he should reflect on some of the things he posts, because some of them clearly are just absurd. Because for me, I wouldn't support torture of citizens, irrespective of what they have done. We have court systems where these citizens can be arrested, not illegally arresting people, subjecting them to issues of torture. Whether, we are in a digital age, so social media is a big tool for politics. And General Muhoozi, from his perspective, we know he's the chairman of PLU, we know he's angling for the presidency, and I can state without fear of contradiction that Muhoozi is going to be president of this country. Because everything, like we're seeing, the progression is that he's preparing himself for the presidency. And he's going to be president unless something happens and it stops him. Now, the buck stops with the president. Our appeal is to the CDF, to General Muhoozi. and to the president, because the buck stops with him. If you remember, I think the 48th birthday of General Muhoozi, I remember clearly President Kagame cautioning him on the kind of posts he makes. Perhaps he didn't take heed, perhaps the president didn't take heed, but he was very clear on that, because some of those tweets really, they cause problems like the diplomats were raising, because you talk about arresting and deporting diplomats, attacking the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission and things like that. Some of those things really cross the line. And the people around General Muhoozi, Andrew Mwenda, Ambassador Katunji, their ministers actually like Balam, who are, I mean, you're a minister. He's the minister for the youth. But in as much as he holds a responsibility, and as citizens and as members of the party, actually, for the Eyerus, we hold them to account for some of their actions, because you can't be. I mean, what do you do when you're meeting General Muhoozi, for instance, Lilian Abels, all those ministers? When you meet him, why don't you guide him? Because Muhoozi, like I've said, is not perfect. He needs guidance. He's a leader who is growing, and like I've said, it doesn't matter, because I mean we've seen Biden becoming president at 70.
Let's stop for a break, and then after the break I'll get you to conclude on that.
All right.
We'll come back from the break. Michael Byakagaba, you are concluding.
Oh yes. So our appeal is to the CDF, and yes, the team around his closest friends, by the way, Honorable Balam Barugahara, Lilian Aber, and that whole team.
There's a saying, people are saying, who is your Balam? Everyone, everyone needs a Balam.
Yes, you can. You see, you can defend and fight for someone without crossing the line. As a good friend, we need to give guidance to some of our leaders. Every leader needs guidance. So there's no leader who is perfect. Even Museveni, in as much as he's been in power for a long time, he's not a perfect man. There are things where he falls short, and that's why he has advisors. So the buck stops with the president. We are appealing to the president.
Okay.
In as much as
let's go to Honorable Semuju. Thank you.
All right.
Semuju is going to spoil.
No, finally the lawyer has spoken as a citizen. Because you see, these things are going to affect everybody. I remember when Kayihura was torturing people in Nalufenya. The day he tortured that NRM chairman from Bunyoro. Yeah. Now people knew that nobody was safe. You see, the Uganda people will take it upon the way it is, not the way it ought. Because we are under family rule. Under family rule, nobody will go to. In fact, if you ask children on the street if they even know the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they will struggle. Because they know this country is run by Museveni, his brother, and his other family members. If you want something solved, you will go to them. I remember, even before I became a politician, sometime in 2000 something, the Honorable Nusrat Peru was either NRM used something when she was a youth MP. Youth in Mitiana wanted to meet General Sale, and Chiperu wanted to take Chigongo. They said, no, we don't want Chigongo, we want Sale. Because they know with the Sale things will work. So the diplomats are not stupid, that they will go and meet a protocol officer. They know who is in charge, not even of himself. They will go to people, because if you want a Muhoozi either to speak to him or to stop him, he has said it himself, either it is his father or his uncle. That's the hierarchy. Even when he is appointed or is promoted, it is his uncle Sale. I told you he came dressed like he was going to milk cows to preside over the Muhoozi's peeping ceremony and inauguration. Sometimes
you want to make a good point and then you spoil it.
No, that was important.
You could say he was not dressed in uniform.
No, that was important. But Sale has come here. I have told him these things when he was here, the way he dresses. So it is his uncle who must preside over. So the whole government has been over, because ordinarily someone should walk to to the Prime Minister. I remember when Tumukunde refused to vacate office when he had been removed. That time you had a semblance of government. The President sent there Professor Nsibambi and Tinyefuza. Tinyefuza, of course, said Rugaon Katere, he wanted to beat him. But Nsibambi said, no, we can handle it differently. Because at least you had the Prime Minister who was fairly respected, and the President would allow him to go and do some government work. But just imagine walking into Nabanja that you have come to report that you have come to. No, I'm not the only one. That's why the diplomats went to Sare, who holds almost no office in the government. In fact, even when you read the Oscar, because the requirement under the law that government departments, as they bring their budgets in Parliament, they will bring a list of human resource. Now Sare is no longer on the list of presidential advisors. They omitted him this year. So he's not even a presidential advisor, at least by law, because we approve them every year. But he's a co-president. That's why the ministers will go, the speakers, because you are faulting the colonialists, the children of colonialists. But the entire government goes to Guru, from Alupo, the vice president, to Nabanja, to Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, to everybody. So if you can't access the president, then you go to the co-president. Now, I don't know whether the son is the prime minister, because he can also. We are effectively under family rule. You can pretend about it of Opondo. You can choose to say nothing by blaming history. That's where you are. Even when you yourself come to Parliament. The other day, MPs summoned Muhoozi. Said those crowns will come and arrest you. The chairperson of Human Rights Commission ordered him to release under the Constitution. He said that woman never sent me these bogus letters. That's how he described the letter from the chairman of Human Rights Commission. So that's where we are. People can pretend the government has disintegrated. There is no government now. So you just look for portions where it exists. Oscar, even in the budget, they have budget lines. Now they have put money for Sale, 20 billion under Operation Wealth Creation, 60 billion under what? So really, that's where we are. We can pretend, but that pretense will help nobody. I remember when you were complaining here, the day they arrested your driver by not following the due process. But at least you complained publicly. You came here to Capitalgang and complain. I would rather go to Sale than Capitalgang.
I can tell the listeners that I actually complained to the police authority at the highest level, General Kaihura. It was when it was persistent. Then I said, no, you Kaihura, we have talked, and this man is not getting released, not getting to court. That's why I use this, because we use this platform
exactly
to raise things where people have closed their ears.
Yeah, so
authorities have closed their ears.
sometimes you may not go to the formal. You may not go to the formal channels, because the formal channels have been overthrown. Because ordinarily, if you want to campaign against the CDF, you should raise the minister responsible for defense. When General David Muhoozi, former CDF, told the parliament that when security people are arresting people, they must identify themselves, what was the response from Muhoozi? When I asked the Minister of Defense to explain circumstances under which they are deployed soldiers in South Sudan, what did the Majezi, who speaks for Muhoozi, say? Said that minister, you are just our representative in the parliament. These things you don't know, they don't concern you. So often you no longer have a government. That's where we are. You can pretend.
No, Oscar, you see,
let me allow you 2 sentences to conclude this one, because I don't
think it is fair to say money allocated to OWC is allocated to General Sale. No, General Sale runs OWC as a program of... No.
I am an MP, please.
Which I agree.
Just run.
No.
We have budget lines and codes and procurement
and I am your resident in Chira, so I also
that
want
doesn't
my
make
MP
you an MP.
It doesn't, but
yes.
it leaves me with the option. So my MP should speak facts.
The facts are in Parliament. They are not in
NRMU.
Honorable Semuju, where in the budget is General Sale mentioned? Since you are an MP,
we pass a budget when you produce a recruitment plan, procurement, work plan.
Where is he mentioned?
Code.
Is he mentioned?
Is he not the head of operation?
Which is what I am saying. So the money is for the program.
There is no program. I'm telling you, it is not there.
Honorable Semuju, with respect,
let him speak.
If I were to have a time, there are no beneficiaries of OWC in Chira municipality. But if you are to move around, if you are to move around,
continue, Jacob.
Perhaps I am just going to leave it at that. But respectfully, it would be good to also think about the beneficiaries. Once while you are saying 20 billion is for General Salim Saleh, yet there is a list of beneficiaries that are verifiable. So I do not want to go there, but there are so many things that money does that I'm sure you can find out from General Saleh. So let's, as the head of the program, so let me proceed and just say the other thing that for me is a bit of a disturbing thing. Yes, it is true that there are very many members of one family in government, but there are very many members of very many families in government. It's not just President Museveni's family that is in government. Semuju is in government. We don't know where Semuju's relatives are working. So this non-disclosure for others does not mean that there's only one. Perhaps which merits concern from across the board is to say, if all power is vested in one family, then we would have an issue. But when Semujus are discussing the budget, they change things whenever they want, and they are the ones with the power to appropriate. He has told you here that MPs are the ones that decide. If it was that it is not that way, then we would say, okay, maybe there's a problem. But there are processes, and that's why General Muhoozi can disagree on Twitter but not have his way on the floor.
We leave it at that. Honorable Semoju, I'm now going to switch on your microphone. Tundu Lissu.
To pretend there's that.
We've had Tundu Lissu was brought to court.
Yeah.
Again, surrounded. You know, it's interesting. They bring him to court same time as Besigye brought to court, and then we have our Agatha here, who was also abducted and thrown back into Uganda. Besigye's lawyer was denied entry into Tanzania. And Uganda, you know, you have to commend Uganda, because Uganda allowed that Kenyan lawyer to be Besigye's lead lawyer. So,
you see, Tanzania is different from Uganda. Tanzania more or less is like Zimbabwe. I'm not even sure that Suluhu has full control, or she has gained it. Magufuli had some control over the state, but the state of Tanzania behaves like that. It suffers from paranoid. And Tanzanians, every meeting I have attended, Tanzanians are not comfortable with Kenya, whether it is a meeting of journalists or not. I one time we were in Nairobi during a meeting of editors forum. We are unable to constitute a leadership because Tanzanians said these Kenyans are not respecting us. And the meeting, so there always be issues between Tanzania and Kenya. But I had thought when Suluhu announced some of reforms, my thinking was that the system had accepted them. Because in Tanzania, almost, so you compete the same way you compete with Museveni in Uganda. They set the standards. You will compete against us this way. So if you don't live within those standards, you are in trouble. The only difference is that in Uganda there are things Museveni will allow, maybe because he's a military man himself, and he knows where to stop. So he will allow a few things for public relations, but the approach is not different. After all, he admires Tanzania. But for me, what excites me is that the East African now, you are people who can move and follow up cases of repression in Tanzania, in Uganda. So Museveni wanted us to take us to East African community. I think we are moving along with him. So let him welcome everybody. Let Tanzania, I hide a doubt, because even just working in Tanzania, I have relatives who were working in Tanzania. When Magufuli came, they were chased. I remember the first time I landed in Tanzania, the stamp that was put in my passport is that you're not allowed to work here. But they said we are East African. So Tanzania is a different ball game. And it's unfortunate, but I want to commend those who went there. Because under Magufuli, the opposition leader nearly had almost been killed. He just survived by...
Probably they wouldn't have gone.
You can't. Under Magufuli, it was very difficult. So that's Tanzania. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. It's a very conservative system, but it is still a system. You don't need to go and visit Suluhu's husband or Suluhu's sister-in-law. They are still institutionally constituted, but of course conservative and very repressive.
Pondo. The Charles Onyango says, tragically, Atware would likely have faced similar or worse treatment in Uganda, possibly reappearing with her head shaved, limbs broken, face battered after detention in a senior security officer's basement.
Why is Onyango talking in tongues? Is he a coward? Now,
you know him more than us.
Yeah, I think there's enough human rights work to do here. That personally, I don't see
why colonialists should go to Tanzania.
No, these are I think they are busybodies, but also this one way they generate money.
You know the way always put it. There's enough what human rights work to do here.
Yes, there's enough advocacy work to do here in Uganda. You don't need to go to Tanzania, but you see, I think the work of Uganda, we had done exposure. That is how this, because ask all these activists, how do they raise money? Do they sell cows? Do they sell chicken?
They raise money the same way government raises money.
Do they sell matoka to do this work? Somebody is paying.
The same way they pay government.
The government of Uganda raises much of its money through taxation. Even when we borrow, when we borrow pegged to our ability to pay, to raise the revenue from taxation. So, Honorable Assembly, that's how we raise much of our money. Yes, somebody can give us some bits here and there, yes, but we raise the taxation through taxation. So, and selling our goods and services. But these people are really, these are all antics for raising money. And so that's why they go to Tanzania. They keep hopping from different countries to different countries. There's a lot of work to do here that they don't need to go for Tundu Lissu there in Tanzania. And I am glad they were shown the treatment they truly deserve.
Tanzania, as an East African
future MP. I hope that you will not repeat those things. Jacob Bayer.
Thank you. You know, I am going to. This one doesn't have an NRM matter in it. I just think that it should not be criminal to attend court cases.
I like the way you introduce it, because it doesn't have an NRM matter on it. You can speak from the heart.
No, what I'm saying is
that you can speak from the heart.
If I disagree with Fodo, it should not be seen as if we have left the party.
Yeah.
No. There's no, that's a low blow. But I don't think it should be criminal to attend court cases. The only challenge, and I think with the Tanzanian system, is that Tanzania's political space is very controlled. What people enjoy here in Uganda is very different from what is alive in Tanzania. And some people might not know how free people are in Uganda until they move out.
Until they are in the basement.
Until they move just within our region here. Oscar, I'd like to just say, my experience 2017 when we went to Zimbabwe, when we landed, the team that received us told us, yes, you've come here, you are politically astute young people, but please keep the president out of your mouth. Let's talk about other issues politically, but let's not discuss the presidency. Here, Honorable Semuju and his ilk can abuse President Museveni and we go home. But it's not what happens everywhere. So I think...
Semuju's microphone is off.
Yes.
No, I'm saying you can. I've not said you do.
You said we can abuse him.
Yes,
and go home.
Which is what I have said.
So
and there's no problem with that. I've not said you do.
Abuse him like what?
I can't. You want me to? I think you're digressing.
You are digressing.
In what sense?
So you think Museveni is favoring people to live in Uganda?
No. I am saying here the system permits you that you can do some things and you reach home. In many countries, the freedoms that we enjoy here, even though they are not perfectly enjoyed, are very much better enjoyed than in other respects. And Tanzania is just one of those countries.
It is true.
And I just hope that our activists... No, it is very true.
Jacob, we have
so
the point.
I'm happy that the Ugandan sister of ours, Agatha, was released. I'm happy that Boniface was released back home safely. It should not be like that, but there's sovereignty of states and they determine how they play their politics. Like we always say here.
Illegality is international.
No. You see, sovereignty means that you don't meddle in internal matters, especially of politics. And it's because of the political meddling.
Or was it going to court?
Which is what I am saying. That
so there was no meddling.
Which I started with. I said you should not be criminalized for attending a court session. But the system in Tanzania is very different. Especially when President Magufuli took over, the nature of political space really shrunk in Tanzania. In a sense that there's almost no space to do any opposition, anything. So I'm just glad that the activists are free, but they should know that when you are doing some things in Uganda, they may not apply.
When you add but.
No, you see, these things are contextual.
That's how NRM people speak.
These things are contextual. In Tanzania,
even in the
they are not going to treat you like they go treat you in Uganda. So the context is always important and should never be lost in conversation.
Right. Okay, Michael, I have Herbert in Entebbe says, even as early as the 1960s, Honorable Grace Bingira passed a law on emergency detention and was the first person to fall victim. Then Amama Mbabazi, then Kale Kayura. Nobody is safe with a bad law. Then
I will not come when you get arrested.
I have
I know you will come.
Moses here.
There's no reason to arrest me.
They can be found.
I have where is Moses' comment? I have Moses also saying the trial of civilians in military courts is not unique to Uganda. Even in the USA and UK, civilians are tried in military courts under special circumstances. You kind of mentioned that. You and Jacob mentioned that. Yeah. For instance, if civilians are serving with the UPDF in Somalia and they commit crime, they should be tried by the military courts sitting in Somalia. If you brought those in civilian courts in Uganda, the courts here wouldn't try them because the crimes would have been committed outside Uganda. But Semjua said they were tried in Uganda. Yeah, over to you on
Tundu Lissu. He has a history of run-ins with the state.
He has 36 bullets in him.
Sure. And Tanzania goes to the polls on the 28th of October. So there's a lot of politics around all these scenarios. Of course,
he has been elected as the opposition.
And is not even eligible to run for president.
Oh, was banned.
Upcoming elections.
So when they say the party leader, nothing will happen.
And his party elected him as the chairman last month. So there's clearly a problem in Tanzania. There's shrinking civic space. The issue of, for instance, Martha Karua. Actually, if we look at the issue of denying the lawyers,
come to a microphone.
The lawyers who had gone, they had not gone. Perhaps maybe Martha Karua would have maybe been one of the representatives, but there's a process through which one can be a representative of someone in Tanzania. And from what I know, at least Agatha, in as much as she's a lawyer, perhaps she hadn't gone through that process. So they had gone there perhaps to
observe and show support. Maybe not sing in court like Semujo.
Sure. So now the issue, actually, if you are observant, you must have realized that even Justice Maranga, of the former Chief Justice in Kenya, was also part of the team that went there. In as much as they detained him at the airport, they later let him in. Then, even when they were deporting the Martha Karuas, the means of deportation were different from Agatha and that gentleman from Kenya.
Boniface.
Yes, Boniface Mwangi. So it speaks so much to the politics around.
There will be a cost to pay.
Yeah, it speaks so much around the politics that is being played. And President Suluhu Hassan was very clear. He said they're not going to allow foreign interference. And in as much as under the East African Common Market Protocol, some of these lawyers basically are supposed to practice in every country, you can clearly see that the conservatism one of the panelists was talking about, they're stamping their ground and they don't want interference, meaning they are focused on the election. So whatever has happened to Agatha is very unfortunate. We are glad that she's been released. We saw the diplomatic notes from the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Kenya. We saw Kano Mwesiji in Tanzania doing the same thing, trying to extend consular services to the two activists and that kind of thing. But ultimately, it is politics. Even if you look at Agatha, for instance, she's building a profile. If you look at Martha Karua is angling for the presidency. She's a candidate. She has a political party. She's going to run for president in Kenya. She may not, because there's no certainty on that.
There's no excuse for torture. So
there is absolutely no excuse for torture.
We have Jacob here, who's angling for many things in the NRM.
Sure.
Good luck for him. So I wouldn't wish him to be tortured for angling.
So in as much...
I need to mention, because I did not mention, I am running for chairperson of the NRM Youth League.
See?
Yeah, so in as much as there's a lot of politics around this whole thing, you have seen Martha Karua very active in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania. That is good. Okay. But then we shouldn't have situations or scenarios where we're having citizens of the East African community
Thank you.
Denied entry
out of
and deportation.
Michael Byakagaba, a lawyer, candidate on 2 forums. Excellent having you on Gang. Today we had quite a few NRMs in the studio.
Thank you, Oscar.
Jacob Yeru, good luck.
Few of them. Quite often you have fewer of us.
Yes. I like it fewer NRMs on the show, because
I thought the more the better.
No.
NRM is the majority in the country.
Because you have a majority in parliament, so. With this public court, it is better that you can bring out arguments.
But it keeps running on that value of NRM in parliament.
Then good luck to you, Jacob. Opondo, the elderly, good luck as well for you. We wish you the best. You do know that, Honorable Semoju. We also wish you the best. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. We must thank Semoju as well. What we have on Gang next is Rough Cuts. I am Oscar Semoyam Soke, and I shall see you next week.